What's up, everybody? I know it's been like 3 months since my last video, but I wanted to get back in contact with you to discuss and give you all the updates on everything that's going on with me and the K1 visa process. Let me turn this fan off. But I want to talk about everything that's going on with my K1 visa process, my fiance, her trip to the United States for the very first time, what the interview was like in Ho Chi Minh City, and just so much. So stay tuned. Oh my God, the last 90 days have been a whirlwind of craziness, just sheer chaos, and nothing went as planned. Nothing happened the way it was supposed to go, and we found myself just constantly adjusting on the fly, just changing direction, doing whatever was necessary to make this thing happen. But the end result is I am a married man again. So I want to spend some time talking to you about the passport brothers, long distance relationships, and of course, the infamous K1 visa process. So there's so much that I need to catch you up on. But first, let me take you back a little bit. Nia and I got married on August 3rd. There's a slew of other videos I'm going to be uploading just to take you through this process, and it's still going. But I want to take you through this process and share some of the information and share some of the data that I've learned. But first, let me take you back to March and April of this year when I flew to Vietnam for the purposes of attending the immigration interview with Nia at the U.S. consulate. But first, let me say that all of the things that I thought were going to be easy were not easy. They were hard. And all of the things that I thought were going to be hard, they were very simple. And this is definitely a lesson learned. I thought I understood the process, but I did not. So, we'll go back to March and April of this year when I was in Vietnam with Nia for the purposes of attending the K1 visa fiance interview at the U.S. consulate. This is the interview in which they determine that you are going to get a visa, or she is going to get a visa to fly to the United States for the very first time for 90 days only. During that time, during those 90 days, she has to get married, or at the end of those 90 days, she needs to return back to Vietnam. So everything was all planned. I'm flying. I'm on the plane. I'm on Singapore Airlines, my favorite airlines in the world, and I'm on my way to Vietnam. And I just happened to get on the plane's Wi-Fi, and I have a message from Nia. The message from Nia says, our interview has been canceled. Mind blown. So I still have 17 hours on this plane. So I am freaking out. I sent her a message. I say, hey, you need to find out what's going on, and give me some information so that when I land in Singapore, I have a layover. I believe it was about 5 to 7 hours. I had planned to, get a data card, a SIM card, and sit down on my laptop and just try to find out what was going on and contact everybody and what have you. As you can imagine, my flight was horrible. Luckily, I landed in Singapore and I had a message from Nia that she had found out what the problem was with our appointment, and she had resolved it and rescheduled us for an appointment on the same day, just a little bit later. So it was great. Finally made it to Vietnam. I jump on the website. I'm looking at all of the information for the appointment. I realized that there is some information that's not correct. I didn't input it correctly. My problem was, this was our second time going through the United States Customs and Immigration Citizenship and Immigration Service, USCIS. This was our second time. So we have two distinctly different petition numbers and cases. So, in the process of working on the second one, I input some data from the first one. So, it was incorrect. And the information on the website clearly states if there's anything wrong with that information, if it's not correct, they will cancel your interview. I saw that this information was not correct. Nia had found bits and pieces of it, but not all of it. So I jumped in and I corrected it. And I said, great, we are done. We are good to go. But what I had failed to realize was that if you make changes to that appointment information within 28 hours, I'm sorry, 48 hours of your appointment, they will automatically cancel your appointment. So, less than a few hours later, we get another message saying that our appointment has been canceled completely. I'm thinking that my trip to Vietnam to bring Nia back, it was just a complete total waste of money. Nothing was going right. You know, part of me is thinking, okay, this is a sign. This is a sign. Let's just drop this thing, fly back home with your tail between your legs, and call it a day. Blah blah blah. All these things are going through my head. Finally, we regrouped and we fixed the information. We were able to make another appointment, but we had a very short window to do it. Thankfully, the appointment was only 2 days later. So it still fell within the realm of our plan to fly back together. It was going to be cutting it close, but things still fell in the realm of our plan. And by that I meant that if we went to this interview and they gave us the visa at the end of the interview, which they traditionally do, we would have about 7 to 10 days to receive that visa in the mail, and we would still be able to make a flight out back to the United States if I changed my flight. Because we had already booked my flight and then her one-way ticket. So we thought, okay, well, let's just go with that. Let's just wait to get this visa in our hands, and then we'll deal with that. So we go to our interview appointment. We show up at the U.S. consulate. We get there early. We go to get some coffee and some breakfast. We eat that. We come back because we didn't see anybody waiting in line when we first arrived. So we come back, and now there's this long line. So we have to get at the end of the long line. We finally get in. There's paperwork to do. It goes to 2 stages. Because I'm there as support, I don't stand in one of the lines with Nia, so she goes to do her thing there, and then I have to sit and wait. And then she comes back and she joins me. So we're sitting there, and we're in the waiting room with all the other folks waiting to get some sort of a visa to go to the United States. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking across the way, and one of the interviewers is an African American man. Actually, he looks like he could be my brother. Literally, he looks like he could be my brother. Nia said, "That looks like that's your younger brother." So we're thinking, yeah, let me get that guy. Let me get that dude, and this is all gonna be a piece of cake. Brother to brother, little wink, wink. Hey, what's up? There, let us in the country. Blah blah blah, that kind of thing. So we're excited, and we know what our petition looks like because I printed out 500 plus pages of our messages over the course of years. And so all of that is in there. That's part of our bona fide proof of our relationship. So our stack of paperwork is like this freaking fat, and everyone else is just like that. So when our paperwork is being moved behind the glass partition with where all of the interviewers are located, we know which one is ours. So we're hoping, please go to that guy, go to that guy, go to the black guy, go to the black guy. It doesn't go to the black guy. It goes to another guy who happens to be very cool, very kickback. There's a translator there, and they don't really realize or don't know or don't expect Nia to be able to speak English so well. So it's surprising to them when they ask her to do her oath, and they ask her in Vietnamese, but she responds in English. So they're like, whoa, okay, that's interesting. So he asks her a few words, a few questions, and then he turns his direction to me. to me, and we are just chatting it up. He's asking me questions about how we met, how are we able to communicate, just all this stuff, and it's going good. It's going good, and I'm excited, and I'm thinking, yes, we got this. We're wrapping it up. Fingers are crossed. Guy says, I've got some good news and I've got some bureaucratic news. And I'm like, holy fucking shit. And he says, the good news is I have every intention of issuing you and your fiance a visa. And I'm like, okay, okay. So what's the bureaucratic news? I can't do it today. And I'm like, why? What did we do? Did we do something wrong? Did I give her a bad answer? Is our paperwork incorrect? Is there something missing? He was like, no, everything is fine. Everything is done. But this is your second time through the process. So we need to do some paperwork to, and I'm assuming this part, to kind of bring the first case to a close before the second case can continue. So I'm like, okay, okay, okay. How long? How long? How long are we talking? Are we talking a day? Are we talking two, three, four, whatever? You know, let me know something. And he says, I really don't know. There's just some administrative work that we need to do. So you could see my just disappointment wash over my face, and everybody who was in there sitting down behind us, they could see my body posture just completely changed because my world had been flipped upside down. And I said, okay, so what do we do now? He said, you guys don't need to do anything. We're going to take care of this paperwork. We're going to reach out to your fiance and let her know what the next steps are. And that was it. And we had to leave. And talk about the wind being taken out of your sail. It was so disheartening. It was heartbreaking. It was scary. It was scary because again, I felt like my life was passing before my eyes, and we just said, okay, so what do we do now? Do we gamble and change our flights to a week later or 10 days later, hoping that we get this visa? But what if it doesn't take 7 days? What if it doesn't take 10 days? What if it takes another month before we get it? We have no idea. We have no clue. And quite honestly, I have to get back to work. I have to get back to the States to get to work. So we came up with the plan that I was just going to go back home, and Nia was going to stay and deal with the visa situation, and then ultimately, maybe if we can plan it, maybe I could come back and meet her halfway. Like maybe I could meet her in Singapore, or maybe I could meet her at an airport in Singapore, or maybe I could meet her in Taiwan, or maybe I could meet her in Tokyo. During her layover, and then we can fly the longest leg of the transatlantic, trans-Pacific flight together, because that was always the goal for us to come back together. Okay, so we have these pseudo plans together of how what we're going to do and how we're going to arrange it. The next day, she goes to work, and she gets a phone call that a messenger has something for her. So, oh, and I forgot to say that traditionally at the end of the interview, they take your fiance's passport because they have to process the visa using that passport. So they didn't take her passport. So a day or two later, she gets this call from a messenger who has a letter for her. So she tries to get the messenger to deliver the letter at her work, but he won't do it. So she can't get it until the end of the day, something crazy like that. So she ends up getting the letter, and they're telling her that, okay, we're gonna process your visa, but But now you need to take your passport to the post office, and the post office works with the U.S. consulate, and then they're going to make sure the U.S. consulate gets it so they can process the visa. So we're like, yes, okay, so at least we're moving. But we had already finalized what the plans were for our flight, for my flight. Her flight was still up in the air. Amazingly enough, I just want to do a little aside here that Singapore Airlines, God bless them, we called them up and we told them what the problem was. We told them that we expected to get a visa, but it didn't go through, and that, well, can we please exchange the flight, and can they please, give us a discount on the exchange fee and whatever. And Singapore Airlines, God bless them, they agreed to do it for free. They agreed to change the flights for free, but not just for Nia. They're going to change my flight for free. God bless them. Singapore Airlines, number one in my book. That took a lot of weight off of our shoulders in terms of the financial strain of trying to deal with all of these new changes. And when we got news from them that they were going to make it happen, it was so beautiful. The problem with why I couldn't change my flight was that I had to get to work. So Singapore Airlines refunded all of her money. So she got it back to her car, so she was able to buy another ticket. So I'm catching up now. It's time for me to go. So I pay for extra luggage, and I take a bunch of her stuff with me. She still doesn't have the visa yet, but I take a bunch of her stuff with me, and I fly back to California. Nia decides that she's going to stay at her company for the full transition period. They sign a contract saying that if they leave, they have to help with training a new person, and I think it's like 30 to 40 days, something like that. So she decides that she's going to stay to do that, and that's going to enable her to, you know, um, finalize her apartment, get rid of her stuff, and these are and everything like that. So we finally get her visa. Yay! We finally book her a ticket to fly back to the United States. She flies back on Eva Airlines. That's the second airline that I ever flew when I went to Vietnam. I had a great time. The service was exceptional, so I was really comfortable with them. They transfer in Taiwan, and Taiwan. International Airport is a beautiful airport, so I felt comfortable with Nia being by herself in that airport, so everything was going well. Nia has never flown out of the country ever before in her life. So I know this, and I'm freaking out on the inside, but I'm like, you can do it, babe. You can do it, babe. But I'm freaking out on the inside because I know I'm really good at directions and really good at signage and really good at those things. But it was a little complicated for me. But we decided to just stay in contact the entire time. I took a day off for work, so when she was flying at night, I could stay awake late to get her phone calls and all that. And I told her that make sure you ask these people for help. So when she got the Uber or the Grab, the guy helped her load her luggage, into the carts. Nia, she arrived, she checked in, she got there early, so her bags were checked in, and she was able to hang out and get something to eat. When she got her seat, she actually got one of the extra legroom seats, and Nia is pretty small. She's a little itty bitty thing, so an economy seat is like it's like that. It's like the Game of Thrones chair for her. She's got all of this room in it, so to have the extra leg room is amazing to her. So she got that seat. She loved the food that was on the plane. She had a great flight. When she landed in Taiwan, she was able to change clothes and freshen up. And whenever she had doubts about where she needed to go, she asked people around her, and they were very helpful. and they got her to where she needed to go. And so I got to the airport at LAX in Los Angeles, probably an hour or two early. So I was just hanging around waiting for her. So I'm waiting for her at the airport. I know she's got to go through uh, customs and then immigration, and part of the visa package from the U.S. consulate, they give you an envelope that's sealed, and you cannot open it. You have to give it to that customs and immigration officer to open it. If it's open it before then, they can ship you behind right back. And then there's an interview, and I was worried that she would kind of freak out at the interview, that she would get scared or nervous, or she would think that she had to know the answer to certain questions or something like that. And so I was just really, really worried about that. That was my biggest sense of worry, and it turned out to be the simplest thing for her. The guy confirmed that her package was still sealed. He checked inside. He asked her a few questions. Where are you staying? What are you planning on doing here? She was like, I'm here to meet my fiance. We're getting married. Boom. She was in. She said she waited in line for almost 90 minutes. And then the interview with the dude took less than five. So in my mind, it was going to be the exact opposite. But there you are. So she finishes with her interview, and she goes to get her luggage. Now, mind you, it's been 90 minutes, so her luggage has been taken off of the carousel, and it's been loaded on a cart. And there's a guy, what do they call him, a sky cap, standing next to her luggage. Now, she flew economy, not premium economy, not anything else. So there's a guy waiting by her luggage for her to come. So he's like, "Hey, I'll carry this for you." So she's like, "Cool, great, thank you." So I'm sitting there waiting, and I look, and I see Nia, and I don't see any luggage in her hands. But then I see this sky cap with all her luggage, because I recognize the luggage was polka dot, coming, pushing it up the ramp. So anyway, I give her a hug, and she gives me a hug, and I tip the guy, and I'm like, "Holy shit, you're here! You're here in the United States. Finally, after 5 years, 5 years, she made it to the United States." We have to leave in 5 minutes. I'm already ready. She still has to get dressed. There you go. Say hi. And there's so much more to the story. I can't wait to share the rest of it with you, of the last 90 days, what transpired during the last 90 days. There's been so much of it. But I will put that in another video. There's so much more to talk about. I'm going to talk to you more about the K1 visa process, long haul travel, dealing with the culture changes. Biggest thing that I didn't think about, homesickness, and it can wipe you out. It can wipe you out. So all of these things are coming in my next videos. Please subscribe. Please stay tuned. I've got so much more information. I just want to share it with all of you who are going to be going through the same thing that I went through. Hopefully, it won't take you 5 years like it took me. But the K1 visa process, the Fiance visa process, United States Citizenship and Immigration Services, all of that. There's so much I want to share with you to make your dream of a relationship come to fruition. So stay tuned. Don't forget to subscribe. Click on that like button. I appreciate you. Peace out.